Hello class. Today I would like to outline you the rules of a review process of MLB baseball. Just imagine being in like Game 7 of the World Series and like your favorite team's playing and they're on the field and they're winning 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, and the other team hits a ball that's going close to the wall, and the fan reaches over and catches the ball and interferes with the player, and they call it a home run and your team loses. That's what happened in 2001 when Derek Jeter was playing against the Orioles. He hit a ball and the fielder was right under it, about to jump up, and the fan reaches over and catches the ball. And the Yankees, they win because obviously the umpire called it a home run. And they in 2001 it wasn't a big deal, but eventually 13 years later they kind of changed the rule, and nowadays you could there's a couple different plays that you could review, and I'm going to talk about that. But the first one is obviously fan interference. It took 13 years to change though, and then now I'll just explain. Like the managers get 2 reviews a game unless they get them right, and then they just keep the reviews. But yeah, let's see. Here's a picture of like what kind of happened. Like right there, he's coming down, but the fan is already has the ball in his hand, and that's kind of that's what happened with that one play. And then that's situation number 1. Nowadays, if that happens, either if the guy is right under the ball and that happens, it's an out. If not, if the player is not close to it and the fan reaches over, it's considered a double, and the fan gets thrown out of the game because he's interfering with the play. And that could be reviewed. That's one of the biggest plays that could be reviewed because it has a big change in momentum of the game, and that's one of them. I'm also gonna I'm gonna show you, this is not the best picture, but this is, so say there's 10 games on Eastern time, baseball usually starts around 4 o'clock, most of the games back east, teams from New York, Boston. They have a widescreen of every single game. You have, I want to say you have 30 people in a room, and they just watch every play, and they call, say you challenge a play, they call, and usually they have the play made up probably within a minute or two, and that's where it all takes place in New York. It's a big old area. And I would on my second thing, the second major play that could be reviewed is the tag, a tag play, or say a runner's running down the base or to the baseline, and it's a close play at first base. They could either review if they're out or safe. According to MLB data from 2014 when it started, 86% of the calls that were missed were forced plays at first base, and 46% of them, 46% were tag plays, say a runner's sliding and the guy either misses a tag or he makes it, but you could review that now, and that's something big. And then I'm gonna give you a scenario in 2010. Pitcher Armando Galarraga of the Detroit Tigers was taking a perfect game into the 9th inning with 2 outs, and and the umpire, this guy right here, called this runner safe. I don't know how he could clearly call him safe. He has the ball in his glove. The runner hasn't even tagged the bag, and they had to look over this play so many times, but you couldn't really do anything because they didn't have the review process. But that caused a big controversy and like after that, so because the MLB felt embarrassed of what happened because clearly you could see the running was clearly out, and then my third play, biggest play is like whether the batter gets hit by the baseball or not, like when they're hitting, and sometimes like if a batter leans into the ball, the umpire has the right to either let you go to first base or not. But most of the time, if it's like, say the batter leans in and it's a strike, it's considered a strike because he's leaning into the pitch and he's trying to get hit on purpose. But like if it's a ball, then they just call it a ball. Another thing is like say the batter's trying to swing through a pitch and the ball hits like its forearm first before it hits the bat, then they could review that. They can also review whether the ball bounces and then hits them. Like the other night, I was watching the Cubs-Rockies game, and the batter was in the box, and like the ball clearly missed his jersey, but the umpire couldn't really see it that good, so he called it a hit by pitch, and that just they reviewed it and it changed the whole changed the whole game. And then this one, there's also the collision at the plate. The catcher now has to give the runner a full thing to the plate, because in 2011 Buster Posey of the Giants, he pretty much got his ACL torn from getting ran over, and they review whether or not the catcher gives him a clear lane at the plate. So if the catcher doesn't give him a clear lane, then he's like pretty much going to be safe no matter what, either if he makes the out or not, because there's no clear lane, and they want to avoid collisions. And this I looked up what the people think about it. They the coaches and stuff, and a reporter said the baseball of operations said the rules experimental, and it kind of changes the way the play at the plate is looked at now. That the play used to be really exciting. Nowadays runners just run and they peel off because they don't really want to hurt the catcher anymore. So that's also what happened. And then in conclusion, I feel like Major League Baseball has done a really good job with the review process. It's taken away the umpires dictating the game, because nowadays umpires like to feel like they have power and they mess up the game. And it's also used in college baseball and the Little League World Series, if you guys watch that. And it just has a big impact on the game. So that's all I could say.
Press escape.
So press log out.
Yeah, you can just, there you go.
Unless somebody wants to use mine.
There you go.
Don't forget to close your other
The other
window,
one, yeah.
because that's your drive.
Close my what?
The other
The
tab
first tab,
The first step.
at the top.
Top left.
top left.
Left.
No.
Left.
Left.
Your other left.
That one right there.
Yeah.
Alright.
Dude, I don't know. Hang on, man. You guys know
Being
me
able to
first?
tell left, right was
You
not
guys
a
know me
prerequisite
first?
for the class.
I don't know my left and my right.
Listen to Beyonce. Around.
What did I think? I know I should have listened to Beyonce. Shit.
All right, so Joshua, what did you think?
I
I thought the presentation was good. You gave a lot of good examples, a lot of good explanations for like each reason they were viewed. When you were talking, you like whenever you attempt to look at the audience, you always look down or look really high up, so you know just try to look at the audience. You also say like a lot, and but other than that, the presentation was good.
The problem right at the beginning is that you just start with your purpose statement. You've got a story about what happened. Imagine what would happen if this kind of thing happened, blah, blah, blah. Well, it actually did happen. Derek Jeter did this kind of thing. That's why I want to talk about this, but instead you start with, I want to talk about this thing, and then you give your attention device afterwards. It's like completely backwards. You've got those two things inverted, so you need to change that. There's no preview of what the structure is. Now, as you're going along, I can tell that you're organizing this around the different kinds of plays that you can use replay for. But you didn't tell us what they were going to be and what we should be looking for at the beginning of the speech, so we're just having to wait for each one to show up. And you kind of put them in order of importance, you know, the most typical ones, that sort of thing. I guess that's the order that they're being presented in. And that's another one of those things that I think might have been useful to have kind of in the preview. So let me talk about the three most important places that they can use the replay. They are, you know, fan interference, you know, reaching base and being tagged or something, whatever the labels are in that particular situation. That way, when you get into the structure, we kind of know what's going on. We can be listening for it. I heard transitions on those points, but casual listeners might have missed it, and next thing you know, you're talking about something that's slightly different, and if they weren't paying attention, they're going to get a little bit lost. You've got to help them. So as a speaker, what you have to do is you have to make that extra effort to give us a path to follow. Now, here's the diagram. I know it sometimes sounds condescending, but the truth is audiences occasionally need to be condescended to. They're not good listeners. Everybody thinks that they're a good listener. They're not. You know, so you got to work a little bit extra at that. I like that you had some detailed information about the number of calls that they got, the percentages that you mentioned that they got right and they got wrong at one point. The example that you had, the two visual examples that you had, the Derek Jeter play and the one in the Pitcher's Perfect Game, I think those images tell us a lot about what it is that you were trying to explain here. I'm a little bit surprised that we don't have a little clip or some examples of calls that did get changed. You mentioned the one that you'd seen the other night in the Rockies-Cubs game, for instance. That's probably a couple weeks ago now. But you'd seen something like that, and I'm going, I'll bet that clip is available someplace online, and you could see it, and we could know exactly why it is that the umpire didn't see that, because it was in front, they're blocked by the player, and they called it the wrong way, but when you see the other camera angle, it's much clearer, and we go, aha, this is why they're doing this, as opposed to, well, it's just technology, and they're sticking technology in wherever they can. But there's a real reason that you want to get this right. You have it feels sometimes like you're talking to yourself. You know, you're talking out loud about the subject. You're kind of thinking about it, and this is what I want to say about these kinds of things. Instead of having planned, here's what I'm going to say to everybody. So I think it requires a little bit more practice to get that down, so it doesn't sound like you're just thinking out loud about what it is you're going to say, but you know what you're going to say, and you're telling us what you're going to say. There's a difference between those things. The one visual was worthless. You know, the one about the center, the operations center. I mean, your picture's all stretched out and distorted, so we can't really see what's going on there. So that'd be one of those things. That's a tech thing. I'm sure you probably just found that image online, and when it came out in your slide, it's all distorted. You go, that doesn't help me at all. So that would be one of those things to check on ahead of time. All right, thank you.